Is this the final nail in the coffin that finally does NAR in? Now, I hope that that's not the case, but there's a lot of headwinds that are happening right now, unfortunately, that NAR is going through. So NAR runs out of liability insurance coverage, sources say. Now, this article is courtesy of Housing Wire. All right, let's dig right into it because I have a lot of thoughts on this. The trade group has run out of liability insurance coverage, potentially leaving thousands of state and local associations and MLSs on the hook for legal fees. Folks, I don't know if you've been keeping up with the amount of lawsuits that are going on, but NAR itself, I'm not even factoring in the smaller associations and MLSs and all that stuff at the local level, but NAR itself is named in over 20, I think technically right now it's 21, so 20 to 21 lawsuits at the moment. So each one of those lawsuits requires an attorney team. Now, I don't know if you've ever worked with attorneys, especially when it comes to being sued. They are not cheap. So, and they're not going to give you too much of a discount if they're going to add another, lawsuit to the mix, because the same things that hopefully they're doing for you over here, they're going to be doing in this particular new lawsuit. Now, understand that the argument's probably going to be the same, because not only are you getting the same arguments from the copycat lawsuits, but at the end of the day, attorneys are attorneys, and there's a reason that on the totem pole you have real estate agents that are not seen as favorable, but even on top of that are not seen, and there's even more animosity towards. You have attorneys up there, and then you have used car salesmen. So we're in the same bucket, but we're in different lanes, if that makes sense. So let's dig into this. 3 sources who have asked to remain anonymous have confirmed to Housing Wire that the National Association of Realtors, NAR, has run out of liability insurance funds. The news about NAR's insurance predicament began circulating late Wednesday, with industry analyst Rob Hahn highlighting the news on Thursday edition of his email newsletter, Notorious Rob. Okay, so NAR's insurance policy is tapped out, and there are no funds available for realtor associations and MLSs for legal defense costs, folks. So with all these lawsuits, there's so many lawsuits right now. I just gave you the number that NAR itself is implicated in, but there's a ton more copycat lawsuits out there. So again, each one of those lawsuits requires a defense. And if you're looking at the way that these lawsuits are coming, you have an infinity. There's like an infinity stone out there from any potential homeowner that gets these. I don't know if you've seen them, but they're getting mailers. Listen in, they're getting mailers from law offices saying, hey, it looks like you sold a home, or you had a real estate transaction between this period and this period. You're able to join a lawsuit against NAR and really any other brokers that sold your home. Homeowners, people that sold their home at some point in time, they are getting these mailers. So you have all of these individuals getting all of these postcards. When they're calling in, they're not calling in to hey, represent me, because I'm really itching to spend $400, $500, $800 an hour on an attorney to then sue NAR. They're not looking for that. They are getting their coverage. They're getting their attorneys on a contingency basis. So you have all of these attorneys that are sending out these mailers, so then they can get enough people that are affected, so they can bring on these copycat lawsuits. They're not charging these homeowners. They're essentially, this is their lead generation strategy. This is their way of generating business. Get people that are, again, affected, sue NAR, sue the brokerage that sold their home, sue whoever they can name on the lawsuit, and then whatever ends up getting settled or gets earned is a very loose word, gets won in the court, well, they get to get 30, 40, 50, 60, 70%, however, whatever deal they strike. And then the home seller, the home person, the home seller, I keep saying I keep wanting to say home buyer, but the home seller in most cases they'll get a couple $100 if that. So that's what's happening. So if you have this infinity amount of liability out here, and you have one entity that's getting every single lawsuit's going to name them, and you don't really have money to pay for the defense, you're in trouble. You're in trouble. Now that's huge, right? So let's look at this. NAR has two types of insurance. It offers to associations, subsidiaries, affiliates, and association-owned MLSs at no additional cost. These policies include professional liability insurance, which is what they're talking about, and patent infringement insurance. Ain't nobody touching that insurance. there's the patent infringement part, the cease and desist letters that they used to send out, and I'm sure they still do, to real estate agents saying, hey, don't use our trademark realtor trademark patent, or not patent, copyright. I'm assuming it's coming from that type of insurance. All those, I'm sure those letters have slowed down significantly, or at least they should. The liability insurance, which again is a type of insurance that we're talking about, which is offered through the insurance provider Chubb, is designed to cover antitrust claims, which this falls right under that. But the policy limit is $1 million per policy. Additionally, the policy has aggregate limit of $10 million, so it has the cap of $10 million. So in this case, to give you an idea of how expensive this has become in the recent amount of time, that we're talking about here in the past couple of years, over $10 million it's been ballooned way past that. Just in fees, we're not even talking payouts. We know that right now NAR has was in the lawsuit, that the famous lawsuit out of Missouri last year, where the verdict, I believe, was $1.8 billion. So that's the payout, or, right now it's getting appealed and there's a potential for a settlement. So we're not even talking about the payout. We're not talking about the settlement. We're talking about just attorney fees here. For an additional cost, state and local realtor associations, as well as association-owned MLSs, can purchase excess insurance coverage, which nobody did. And I don't blame them. Why would you? But as Han wrote, and as sources have confirmed to Housing Wire, all of NAR's insurance funds, including the funds in its excess coverage pool, are gone. So there's no more money coming. Additionally, NAR's here's the important part. All this is important, but let's go to a part that I really wanted to. It was the important part here. Additionally, NAR's professional liability insurance has been extended through June 30th, 2024. So here in about 5 months. But it has not been renewed, and Chubb is no longer making excess coverage policies available for purchase. So you can't add an additional insurance to the policy that you have, and you haven't renewed. That's gonna be that's a big deal. That's a big deal. So who's going to insure knowing everything that's happening right now? I'm sure Chubb isn't doing it. They're not selling the additional coverage. So right now, June 30th, the piggy bank is gonna run dry. If in this case it has already done. It has already run dry, which we'll talk about what this means for us. Oops. Okay. For large MLSs and realtor associations, which have their own liability insurance independent of NAR, this news is disappointing, but it isn't catastrophic. But for similar associations that do not have independent coverage and have found themselves in the crosshairs of copycat commission lawsuits, the news is devastating. And then it goes on to say, this is one, and then we can... in Han's estimates, an association with 1,000 members that charge $150 in annual dues for an additional income of $150,000 cannot afford to defend itself in just one of the many copycat lawsuits. Now, what does this mean for us? So we as real estate agents, you need to look at what association you've joined, because most likely your dues are going to go up. That money's going to come from somewhere if this entity is going to continue to exist. Now, I'm not saying it's going to be completely jacked up to the moon, but Again, when you're looking at all these lawsuits that are going to continue coming, these aren't stopping. And you have smaller associations that right now they can't even afford one. What happens when the second one lands, the third one lands, the fourth one lands? So from our perspective, so I say our because I'm a member of NAR. So from a NAR perspective, from association perspectives, all these lawsuits that are coming, you're paying the actual attorney fees. You're paying that by hour in many cases. So you're actually incurring this expense. Again, the infinity stone on the other side, there is no limit. You have millions of home sellers, millions of home buyers, and you have, I don't know how many attorneys are out there, but I'm assuming hundreds of thousands of attorneys out there that are out there actively prospecting and are not charging them. This is a lottery ticket for whoever happens to join this, if it gets to class action suit and all that stuff. So they're paying on the contingency fee. This only, they are not fronting the bill per hour. On this side, the defendant side, the NAR, every association that you can think of, every MLS that you can think of, every brokerage that you can think of, every agent that you can think of, you are paying per hour. You're paying up front. You're not paying on a contingency basis. So this is a big issue. I don't know what ultimately is going to happen, obviously. However, I am going to be following this particular case very, very closely because June 30th is when this essential policy is done, right? After that, again, who are they going to get to? Who are they going to get to sell them liability insurance? It's not likely. It's not likely. So it is looking bleak. NAR continues to have a ton of issues, not just from the commission side, from the commission lawsuits and all these copycat lawsuits, but also from a leadership standpoint, from its membership standpoint as well, from the real estate industry itself. So there's a lot of things that are really, really stacking the deck against NAR to where this could ultimately be the final nail in the coffin. So let me know what you think in the comments section down below. Is this a big deal? Is this a nothing burger? I'm curious to get your thoughts. I'll see you tomorrow.